Head coach Sherrone Moore loses his $30 million job over an affair. Man, this is all that I've seen on my timeline and on social media the past few days. Everybody is talking about this. There's a lot of articles and a lot of videos going around and talking about his salary and talking about the drama and the gossip and everything. And I don't need to get too much into that. I will talk about the story and what happened, but I really want to approach this more from the standpoint of lust and what happens when, as men, we give in to certain temptations and give in to certain things. Unfortunately, we see this happen over and over again. And look, one of the things that I hate is when people pass judgment. People want to judge people. They want to kick a man when he's down and do all of that. That's not me. I'm not into that. So that's not the point of this. But I do think there are a lot of lessons to be learned in this story and in what happened. So Sherrone starts coaching a few years ago at the University of Michigan. Huge program, one of the biggest programs in college football. I mean, if you're not into football and don't understand what the University of Michigan means, like, it's huge. I mean, you're pretty much on one of the largest stages in the world from a college football standpoint. And so he's now at the helm. So he's now running this program. And as he's doing that, he's got an assistant. And so he gets in a relationship with this assistant. All right. And so, he's married, he's got 3 kids, but over here on the side, he's got this relationship with this young lady that's pictured here. Right. And so they start dealing with each other. And it sounds like there were some rumors that went around that it was potentially going on, that people might have thought something was going on, but nothing ever came to the light. Right. So things just continued to progress. According to the story, she got a pretty significant raise at one point. So, she's making a certain salary and then she gets this big bump in her pay and people start asking questions, right? Like, again, rumors flying around, things like that. But things just keep on going. So fast forward to current day. So the University of Michigan put out a statement saying that Coach Sherrone Moore has now been fired for an inappropriate relationship. So however it came out or whatever happened as far as how all that was brought to light is what happened. But not only does that happen, he loses his job. And then apparently he goes to the home of the ex-girlfriend, right? And has an altercation over there. And so now this altercation leads to him getting charges put on him. So now he's in jail, right? So you start out with this relationship while you're married, right? And then you end up in a situation where what was done in the dark comes to the light. The secret is found out. You end up going to old girl's house trying to confront her, and that ends up in a situation that now has you with charges on you. So let's talk about the money for a minute. This is crazy. So Coach Moore's salary base level was $27.5 million over 5 years, so a little over $5 million a year. All right. So this article is saying if it was an on-field performance thing, so had he been fired for something related to on the field, he would have been given a buyout from the university, right? So this is like the team's just not winning, right? And they decide to go different ways. They still would owe him a buyout from his contract so he'd be able to get paid. But because there's just cause in this case, an inappropriate relationship, right? So he's now going to lose out on up to $17 million. $17 million, right? The university does not have to pay this man. So a lot of people are going to hear this story or they're going to read it. And their first reaction is going to be, man, that dude is stupid. Like, for real, like, you're going to throw away $17 million, man. If that was me, if I was in his shoes, if that was me, XYZ, right? Like, people can make all kind of scenarios and say all kind of things. And a lot of people are never going to be in that situation. Let's be real. I mean, most people are not going to be in a situation where you're making $5 million a year, anywhere close to that. You probably have a level of temptation being thrown at you that most men would never experience. Most guys are never going to be in that scenario. But here's the deal. A lot of guys have temptation that are not in his seat, right? A lot of guys that are never at that level financially or, have that level of options that may be out there still face temptation just in a different way. It's something that we all go through. Like, this lust thing is real. Different men struggle with different things. We have different things that can hold us up from getting to our true potential. And if we never get a handle on some of these things, if we never get a handle on our self-control, we're never going to get to where it ultimately is that we need to go. So what do you do? How do you avoid yourself ending up in situations like this? Because I think this is very important. We can't just keep having these stories where these guys take this fall and go down like this. It's just news one day and then we totally forget about it the next. What do we do? Like, how do we take this and learn lessons from it? So one of the first things, and I'm going to tell you, this is something that I had to implement myself. And as I'm getting older, it's definitely made a big difference, is you have to make decisions before you get in the situation. You have to know what your line is and you have to know what your boundaries are. So for example, let's say you're married and let's say you got a bunch of your single friends, they want to go on a trip out the country, right? Or let's say that there's a particular house party or an event or something, and maybe you want to go to it, but you know there's going to be a young lady there that is attracted to you, you attracted to her. Y'all might have very innocently kind of flirted a little bit, right? Do you think it makes sense for you to go to that house party and be there yourself? Like, should you do that, right? These are the kind of decisions that you don't make when you're in that moment. You make those decisions before you get in the moment. You say to yourself, all right, look, if this person wants to kick it, if this person wants to go out, I know I can't go over there because that's probably not the best situation for me to be in. Doesn't mean I don't love you. Doesn't mean we're not cool. Doesn't mean you're not my friend. Doesn't mean you're not my dog, right? But I just can't put myself in that situation. And so you make that decision beforehand. You don't get yourself in the middle of the temptation, in the middle of the scenario, because it sets you up to fall. Here's another one. I know this might sound simple. It's probably going to sound boring, and that's okay. Sometimes it's all right to just stay in the house. Like, it's okay to just stay in the house sometimes, like a lot of trouble can be avoided when you just don't put yourself out in certain situations and you don't go to certain places. Like, I'm pretty sure that as a head coach, this guy's got access to all kinds of women, access to different events and different situations that he can put himself in. And honestly, sometimes it's okay to just be the boring married guy. Sometimes it's okay to be the guy that just goes home to his girl and his kids. Like, the more situations you put yourself in for the temptation to be there, the harder it is to resist. There's nothing wrong with choosing a night of sitting in the office, reading a book or working on some work as opposed to going to the club. Not that you have to be a total hermit, never go anywhere, never have any fun. That's not what I'm saying. But a lot of times, just choose to stay in the house. Like, staying in the house can avoid a lot of issues, a lot of problems, especially if you know the alternative and the place that you could go, there's going to be temptation waiting there. And the last thing I'll say, and this is very, very key, it's very key. I believe every man, we need to be answering to a higher power. We got to answer to a higher power. And the reason I say that is, Sherrone is looking at everything that's coming out in the news and in the blogs and social media, and basically what was done in the dark has now all come to light and everything. But what about the times you don't get caught? What about the times that people don't know? There are things that you might be doing as a man, and you might be watching this right now and you got something going on that you shouldn't be doing. You might feel a guilt about it. You feel a way, right? But nobody would ever know if you didn't say anything. As a Christian, I know that I am working on my walk with Christ. It doesn't mean I'm perfect, because I'm not. It just means that I know that I'm trying to walk in a certain way and move in a certain way. So as men, if we know that, then that means that regardless of if people know, people don't have to know. I know. And I know that God knows. So if I'm moving sideways, if I'm doing something foul or anything like that, I know that God sees that. So when we hold ourselves to a higher standard, when we hold ourselves not to the world standard and what everybody can see in the light, but God sees everything in the dark. And we forget that. Like, a lot of times as men, we don't think about it that way, right? It's like, I'm doing this thing, nobody knows, but at the end of the day, God knows. So if we're holding ourselves to that standard, we start to move really different. we move totally different because we're not doing things like, oh, I don't want my girl to find out. I don't want my wife to find out. It's not even about that. You have a higher standard. You're holding yourself to God's standard. And so when you approach it that way, it totally changes your view on the whole situation. So look, I really want to pray for this brother. I think that he's getting beat and kicked down right now a lot. I'm sure he's going to be getting dragged probably for weeks over this situation. There are going to be a bunch of thought pieces and videos and all kind of stuff. And I don't judge this guy. I don't judge him at all. I want to pray for him because I want him to come out of this better. It was a very poor decision, but a lot of poor decisions have been made before. I've made a ton of poor decisions myself as a man, so I don't think we need to kick him while he's down. I think we need to pray for this guy and hope that he does better. Do me a favor, let me know in the comments, is there anything specifically that you're struggling with as a man? I think that lust is one that a lot of us struggle with. It's very difficult, extremely difficult, right? We can't even sugarcoat that. But is there anything in particular that you struggle with? Maybe it's that, or maybe it's something totally different. Why don't you let me know in the comments? So listen, I hope you enjoyed the video. See you on the next one.